Hello. Hi, everybody. I think we've got 3 people joined. Good evening. Took me a few minutes to remember how to connect to my live stream. Still a complete beginner at this. Now, last week's live was disappointingly not recorded, and I have no idea why that happened. And YouTube promised me it was going to be available, and then it never was. Just going to get the angle of this screen right. Hi, Angela. Hi. Hello, Dr. Katz. Good evening. Well, it's evening for me anyway. It might not be evening where you are. I'm just trying to see if there's anything I need to press to make sure that this records. Let me just look into my settings. Oh, not that. I think with being a complete beginner at anything to do with technology is you just have to suck it and see until you get the thing to work for you. Manage. I wonder if it's under that tab. You don't have access to this feature. Expand the menu. No, I just I really hope it's recording today, but we shall have to see. So, can you hear me? Okay, test the sound before everybody else joins. Thanks. Loud and clear, fantastic. I think the sound on my laptop, which is quite new, I only bought it a couple of months ago, I think it's really sharp, slightly breaking up. So I'm in Brussels. Well, not directly in the centre of Brussels. I'm in a place called Uccle, which is in the outskirts of Brussels. It's really leafy and green and gorgeous. And we should have great internet. I've got full signal. Is it breaking up for anybody else? Hi, Julie. Good, great. So, how is everybody? How have we been doing this week? And who has the question for me to get the ball rolling? Cracking, thanks. Hi, Emma, how are you? I'm very good, thank you. Professional YouTube marketer. So today was the day my channel went over 10,000 subscribers, which was the most exciting thing that's happened all year. It's just amazing. And it's still going on up. When I looked just now, we were up to 10,748. It was one of the videos that I posted a couple of days ago has had such massive watch time. It's just a 13-minute video, and it's already at something like 38,000 views last time I checked. So very, very exciting. Only went on 3 days ago. Cool. So questions. What do we have? Who has something they want to talk about, or a topic you want me to talk about, or what tests can you recommend to determine inflammation? From Angela. That's a good question. It's a tricky one, because if you're talking about inflammation in the gut, for example, when I was trying to get to the bottom of my gut problems, which was, oh gosh, years ago now, I just had painful pains. I didn't know what was wrong with them. Went to the doctor. I've said all this before, recommended a 𝒚. No, that's not it. It's not. I don't want to reduce my stomach acid. I even knew that several years ago. And one of the things I discovered was they can put a camera down and look at your gut and tell you everything's fine, what they did to me. But they can't go down very far with those cameras. They can't get into the small intestine. They can go up and look into your large intestine. So that's for the gut. But of course, you can get inflammation all over the body. So pain is generally related to some sort of inflammation, which is generally related to something your body's not happy with, something that you've put into the body, a protection mechanism to protect you from toxins. And so different sort of tests you could have. You could have some hair mineral testing done. I have a friend who's a health coach who swears by hair mineral testing, and if anybody's interested in that kind of service, I can put you in touch with her, or I can find out how we can get access to that. That's in the UK. But inflammation. I mean, my test for inflammation is when pain has gradually decreased from the sites where I had pain. I know that there's no longer any inflammation there, but it is a good benchmark that when, if I go away for a few days and I eat out too many times, and you never know what you're eating when you're eating out, do you? Even if you eat cleanly, I follow generally a carnivore-ish type diet, keto type diet. So I'm taking my bracelets off because they crash against the desk all the time. So even then, even if you order a steak in a restaurant and you have salad, you don't necessarily know if there's seed oils on it, and if you drink alcohol and you don't normally drink it, all of those things will cause inflammation. And then for me, the marker is always my right knee, which was squashed. I got squashed by a horse when I was 32. Horse reared up and went over backwards on me, and really snapped a whole ligament in my knee. And that is always the site that because I thought my knee was just going to hurt forever, but when I cleaned up my diet, my knee stopped hurting. Correspondingly, so did the hip joint or the sacroiliac joint on the same side. So for me, I know when the inflammation's back again, if I've gone more than 2 or 3 days when I'm not eating cleanly, then those things start to ache a little bit. But I don't know otherwise, Angela, about specific tests. I'm not big on testing. I may have said this in my videos because it depends, what are the tests based on? If you're testing for, let's take cholesterol testing as a good example. Cholesterol testing is the kind of benchmark are people who don't eat a particularly healthy diet in the first place. They might eat a very carbohydrate-rich diet, as most people do. Lots of processed and ultra-processed foods, and that's the benchmark against which they test. So if somebody who eats really cleanly eats a mainly carnivore diet with lots of fat, then goes and has the same test, the results are skewed. They're not the same as the results would be for the majority of people, and then you get told, well, your cholesterol's too high, based on a comparison against a load of people who eat a diet which you would never eat. So I'll leave it there because I don't want, I'll have to think about the inflammation and tests for inflammation. And if anybody's got any input there, please suggest it. Please say so on the chat, and then we can talk about that. Right, let me see. Tanya Bailey, clearing no problems here. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Abu. Angela, what test? So Sazzle. I'm being creative with my cooking on keto. Fantastic. I did tandoori type skewers today along with roasted cauliflower salad. Brilliant. I love roasted cauliflower. It's such a great way to eat it, isn't it? Especially if you put some cumin or some spices on it, or some crushed garlic, season it, a bit of olive oil or butter. God, it's delicious. It just somehow changes from being quite a dull vegetable into something really astonishing if you break it up into florets and roast it. And it doesn't even take very long either. Roast it in the oven. Love tandoori skewers. They sound brilliant. What meat did you have? What more questions here do we have? It's all over today. I'm a clean carnivore. I just started drinking apple cider vinegar and water every day. Yep, brilliant. I do that. I've just had, earlier on this evening, I had a tin of sardines with apple cider vinegar because I just love sardines and I love apple cider vinegar. But I also drink it in water tonight. I'm drinking my electrolytes. It's been really hot in Brussels today. Gorgeous, gorgeous weather. So keeping hydrated. Mary, I am on carnivore and I still have a bit of belly fat. I was thinking of cutting on fat so my body can use the stored one. Yeah, good point. Good idea. Don't go low fat, but if you've still got body fat to lose, you want your body to be burning your own fat. So there's little point or no point in eating sticks of butter or adding fat to everything, because obviously your body will use fat for energy, but you want it to use your fat for energy. And that's why when we do intermittent fasting, it's so it's just such a great way to get leaner, because your body starts scouring after all the things it can use up, and the fat does get used up. So and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, I've been intermittent fasting now for a good couple of years. I mean, I was fasting with Mindy Pelz before I ever discovered or went on to Candy Fraser's program, which was astonishing and brilliant, and I love her and I love everything she promotes. It really worked, and it really does work to get rid of cellulite too. But it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it's been a year now, and it's, you know, I can really see my skin changing. I can really see the underlying fat changing, but it takes a while. You've just got to keep going with it. Thank you, Habiba. Nice presentation. Love that. Thank you. What do we got here? The Home Within. I've been fasting and eating low, no carb diet and healing my digestion and losing weight. Fantastic. Good for you. I am 10 pounds away from my goal weight. I wonder if you eat any differently now that you're in maintenance. Yes, I do. So when I was really losing, and I did get to the point by about the autumn last year, so it was about 6 months after starting, where a couple of friends started saying, you don't want to lose any more weight. I mean, I wasn't skinny, but I was very much skinnier than I was when I first met those people, friends in Andorra. So I've actually, you know, I continue to lose weight, but then I started getting more muscle, and now I'm at maintenance. I don't want to, I'm like up around 130, between 130, 133 pounds. That's my kind of fighting weight. And I'm a UK size 10, so what's that? American size 6. Some things are, I'm a bit, you know, sometimes it's a size 8, but 10 is good for me. And so now I still fast every week. I still do a 24-hour to a 36 because I do it for the autophagy. I do it for the healing benefits. I just feel like that's just ongoing. I think that, you know, having a rest day every week from digestion to enable your body to scour around and use up old skin cells, dead cells, senescent cells, dying cells, you know, potential cancers get eaten up when you fast. You know, all the loose bits of skin that you have from losing weight, they continue to tighten up over the months when you incorporate fasting. I just think it's such a good thing for the body to have a break and to have that autophagy happening every week. So, but, you know, sometimes I eat a bit later now. Sometimes I don't eat breakfast, but I'll eat lunch, and, you know, I might have supper at 6 o'clock. As long as I go to bed and I'm quite, you know, I don't like going to bed on a full stomach, but yes, and you could go back to eating 3 meals a day, but you can just play around with it and see what suits. If you're still 10 pounds away, keep going. And then when you get to that golden place for your ideal weight, then you can play around with it and mix things up. Don't always get up, don't eat till 11 o'clock, eat in an 8-hour window, you know, or whatever you do, mix it up, because the body gets used to anything. Somebody asked me a question like that the other day. If you every day put the body under the exact same stress, and the stressor being a fasting period, but you always do it the same way, it's no longer a stress. The body gets used to anything. So then it's just got used to the fact that you only eat in that window exactly the same every day. And maybe it stops being so effective. You know, I wonder, because, you know, sometimes I don't eat breakfast and I exercise first, take the dog out, go up the mountain, or sometimes I eat a big breakfast and then I don't eat again till the evening. Sometimes I eat breakfast and lunch, you know, change it all the time. And then you keep your body guessing. And I just think it's more effective. Don't get into a rut. What else do we have here? Sorry, I've just got to scroll down. Chicken, love it, great. I had a steak for my lunch today. It was delicious. Maybe blood work. Yes, I'm probably not the best person to ask about that because last time I had bloods done was 3.5 years ago, and they were all fine, and I haven't bothered with any follow-ups. But I don't know. I suppose blood work, the HbA1c, those type of tests might be a good indicators of inflammation. But you've got to find a doctor, haven't you, that will work with you, and be on the side with what it is exactly you're looking for. What is it you're trying to diagnose or that you're trying to get to the bottom of? Christina Rainsford. Hello, Emma. Hello, all. Hi, Christina. Mary B. Thanks, Emma. You're so welcome. Jan. Hello, I'm late. That's okay. Doesn't matter. Habib, what's causing your anxiety? Tell me about this. I have a new video coming up. It's about anxiety and the brain and how we can literally rewire our thought patterns by things we do physically to deal with things like anxiety, because sometimes we get it wrong. Sometimes we think we're anxious about something when in fact the brain's just predicting it. The brain has these prediction loops, and I looked into this and looked into the work of a neuroscientist whose name is Lisa Feldman-Barrett, and I made a video about it because it was fascinating. And it's about how you can change these prediction loops. It's like when you go, I talk about this in the video, you go into the kitchen and you open the fridge to get something out, but you don't even know what you're doing. You just go in the kitchen and open the fridge, and then you scratching your head thinking, what was I even doing this for? You're just in a habit loop. You're in a prediction loop. And you can change the predictions, whether it's a prediction of a stressful situation or something that's worrying you. So that's coming in the next few days, that video. It's edited, it's ready to go. Haven't published it yet. Tanya 73. Hi Emma, I just started switching over to keto. Sugars are still running high and mornings are higher. They will do, Tanya. They take a long time. If you go from, you may or may not know whether you're insulin resistant, but it took me months before my blood sugar numbers came down. Long time ago, before I did Candy's program, which I did from last May, I was tracking my blood sugar and following Mindy Pell's. I'd read her book. I was doing the fasting. It was really hard. I was still a sugar burner. I didn't realize so. But they do still run high. It takes a long time to get your average blood sugar to come down. If it's been too, and most of us don't know if our blood sugar is too high because most of us never test it. And you go to the doctor and you talk about blood sugar. My sister-in-law said to me a couple of weeks ago, I think I may have mentioned this last week, that she was seeing the doctor for, I think it was a heart problem. Can't exactly remember. Something, or she'd been fainting, something that seemed quite serious was going on. And she happened to say to her doctor, how about we, look at about my blood sugar? And the doctor said, one thing at a time. Let's deal with one thing at a time. So obviously he wasn't a holistic doctor. But yeah, lots of doctors, if you say, I'm worried about my blood sugar, I think it might be too high, they might give you a test or they might not. And they're not awfully accurate either, apparently. But the best thing I think to do is not, rather than wearing a continuous glucose monitor, which is quite expensive, but they are amazing. If you I've done it a couple of times, the ones that you put on your arm that the diabetics use, you have an app on your phone and it tells you in real time what your blood sugar is doing. Really fascinating. And then you can start to see real patterns emerging. Because sometimes you might have coffee with cream in it in the morning, but eat nothing, bit of cream in your coffee, and it spikes your blood sugar and you don't know about it. You don't know that spiking your blood sugar if you don't test. But the other way to test, of course, is to have a blood sugar monitor, one of those little, things that you prick your finger, you put a bead of blood on the stick, you put the stick into the machine, and it tells you what your blood sugar is. And it's measuring, that's measuring the actual blood that's circulating in your body. I've done tests where I've tested one finger here, and it would be, I don't know, 88, and then I test over here, and this one says 98. So they're not hugely accurate, whereas the more expensive way of doing it, to have the continuous glucose monitor, very accurate, but I think it was about 60 euros or something, 50 or 60 pounds, 50 or 60 dollars, I guess. Maybe they're cheaper in America. You're saying sugars are still running high, mornings are higher. Now, morning blood sugar, it's called the dawn effect. It goes high before we wake up, and it's to make us wake up. It's the body's wake-up mechanism. So your morning blood sugar will often be higher than your normal blood sugar level. So don't necessarily measure first thing when you wake up. When I measure mine, I'll get up, drink, rehydrate, have a big glass of water with my iodine and my salt in it. That's my first thing. Then I have a herbal tea, and then I do some yoga, and then I finally I've actually stopped drinking coffee first thing in the morning, because it does spike. I think it spikes cortisol, and I still might have a coffee later in the day, but not first thing on an empty stomach, because that really can also push your blood sugars up. Could this be because my liver is dumping excess sugar? Yes, it could be that, but it's also could just be this dawn effect, because you will find that if you measure when you first wake up and then you measure an hour later, even without eating or drinking anything, you'll have one measurement up here and one measurement down here. So don't always, but like I said, if you haven't got a continuous glucose monitor, it's real fun project to watch. You wear it for 2 weeks, and it tells you the exact data on your phone. And it's not into the bloodstream, it's into the fluid between the skin and the bloodstream. It's measuring that fluid. Thoughts on getting sugars done? Yes. So if you get your sugars tested, that's just a snapshot on that day, on that moment. But if you get yourself a monitor, whether it's individual tests with the sticks or whether it is the continuous one, you'll know exactly. And then you can tell the doctor what your findings are. And if you do it over a long enough period, it will also measure your HbA1c, which I didn't do it for long enough. I just did, I just do one every so often just to see where I'm at. And it depends also, what do you mean by high? Because for me, high is 115. That might be the American way of measuring, which is what my machine does. But for some people, high is 300, or, some people might never go above 100, or, you want to be between sort of 60 to 90 is a good normal range. You're better than me. I haven't seen a doc in 7 years. Oh, well done. 7 years. That's excellent. 8. Oh, the home within. Thank you, Emma. What you share resonates a lot. Thank you. Also, I still have one more tool that I haven't used. That's movement. Yeah. I find it very hard to get out and walk since I live in northern Sweden. Is it really, really cold up there even now? I love Sweden, and I've been there, I want to say many times, probably more than 10 times, because we had family in Sweden. Most of them aren't alive anymore, but couples still are. And it was good if we got there in the summer from England, and it was a nice summer in Sweden, because it's very chilly, isn't it, in Sweden? Even in the summer, you get that short bit where it's nice. But what about, if you can't get out and walk, what about something like a stationary bike that you can always use inside? I have things that I can do in my house when I'm at home that I have a pull-up bar, and I couldn't do one single pull-up when I started, and now at the moment I'm up to about 5, but I have got to 10 before, but you have to do it regularly. But you can hang off it. Pull-ups are really intense. They're not for everybody, but a stationary bike, you can sprint on it. One of my clients actually told me, she's in her 70s, and she told me she has a Peloton and she uses it every day. I think that's brilliant. I think she's had it for 4 or 5 years, so maybe she bought it during lockdown. But they got really popular, didn't they? But Obviously, getting outside is brilliant because you get the light in your eyes and you're out in, in the fresh air. But I guess if it's really snowy most of the year, then that might be more tricky. But I do my yoga inside, and whilst yoga is quite a gentle exercise, it's quite strength building. Over time, you build up good strength, and it can be quite exhausting. And it does work the whole body, and stretching is amazing for us too. Julie Shields, hi Julie. What do people here use for checking blood sugar? Also, do we need to do this? You don't have to, but it's a real insight into where you're at. And another video which is coming, which I only recorded yesterday. Was that only yesterday? We drove up through France, left Andorra, drove up through France to come up here to Belgium. And it was such a beautiful day after we'd stayed overnight in France, and we were in the Loire Valley in this beautiful village. It was the bluest sky. We had not had great weather in Andorra, which you might have seen from my last couple of videos. It's been a bit grey and raining a lot and quite cold, even though it's May. And we've come back up into France and now into Belgium, and it's just like summer's arrived here, and it was gorgeous. So I videoed yesterday along the banks of the Loire and big river in France, and I did a video about insulin resistance, so that's coming as soon as I can get it edited in the next few days. That one's coming, and because it's something that we really should pay attention to. If you're slim and lean and everything's working well and you feel fantastic, you probably don't have a problem with insulin resistance. But even skinny athletes, even muscly, slim athletes, the doctors are seeing type 2 diabetes in athletes because they have this high sugar, high energy diets that they take on for these endurance sports. So even slim people can be skinny fat and have insulin resistance and have problems brewing that they can't see because, of course, they're on the inside. Excuse me. Diane Hochhausen. Good pronunciation. I hope that was right. Keto Mojo works well. Yeah, exactly. Keto Mojo tests it's a little this size. They're tiny. You can put either blood sugar sticks or the ketone testing sticks. I've got two different machines because I started testing blood sugar before I knew about testing my ketones. But they're quite expensive, the ketone sticks. They work out at about, in Spain, I buy them from Amazon in Spain, they're about €1 each. So I don't test my ketones all that often, but blood sugar is much cheaper. And I do test my blood sugar most days, actually, just to see. It's interesting because some things push your blood sugar up and you won't know unless you test once you've eaten that. Rupen, oh, hi Rupen. Rupen was on my health coaching course when we qualified last year. Great work on the pull-ups. Thanks. I did such a great exercise. Simon, my husband, has always been able to do pull-ups, and I never could. I could do assisted ones in the gym, but God, wow, the day I could do a pull-up and then I could do two, and then it, just increased on that. I felt so strong and vital. I love those videos that, you see them on Instagram and on YouTube of older people doing fantastic endurance things in the gym or outside, amazing gymnastics or incredible feats of strength, because you don't get weak as you get older. We're just led to believe that's what happens. And most people do get weak as they get older because they stop training. They stop doing anything to build up their strength, to build their muscles. So when you see people my dad's really strong, and he says he's not as strong as he used to be. He is 90 in the summer, but he still, he still has strength. He said his grip strength isn't as strong as it used to be. But he was, one of my friends used to call him wiry because he was wiry and strong. He was just such a strong man. And he's always sawn up his own wood, and he still does that. He still gets all his logs and pallets and saws them up to put on the fire. And he's 90. He's going to be nearly 90, and he's still super active, does his own garden, plays golf a couple of times a week. you can stay strong and active, and I'm intending to, and I'm not going to stop doing those pull-ups. So when I'm 90, you'll all be able to say, oh yeah, look, she can still do those pull-ups, because you guys will still all be here, because you're also looking after your health like I am. So I need you to stay around so that I've got some friends when I'm 90. Right, Tanya, thank you, Emma. Talk about fat loss after 50. Yes, the video that I did last week was only short. It really seemed to resonate. It's doing incredibly well. It's up to, I think I talked about it at the beginning, it only went on 3 days ago, and it's doing brilliantly well. But do you mean talk about the subject of fat loss after 50? It's actually no different to fat loss at any other stage of your life. If you eat the right food, you put the right fuel in, you move correctly. I think people gain weight as they get older, because I don't think people realize how incrementally, gradually, we just become less active. I think back to when I was in my 30s. I moved back to England from living in the Middle East for 6 years, and then we had a big old farmhouse that I was restoring, and I had horses, and I had builders in to help with restoring this farmhouse. And the horse barn was out the back, out the front. And I used to, run between the horse barn and the house, because I was always busy, and I was always trying to get as much done as possible before I had 2 girls, before the 2 girls were out of school. And the builders said to me one day, oh, you run everywhere, don't you? Would you ever walk? Well, why do you run everywhere? And I said, well, because I'm busy and it's quicker. But over the next 20 years, between 30 and 50, I remember thinking, I don't run anymore. I stopped actual running when I was about 40, because it hurt my ankles too much. And I just thought, I can't really do this anymore. Used to do loads of exercise to control my weight. I was always really active. So I could, I didn't have a brilliant diet, although I thought I was really healthy. But I used to, control my weight through doing loads of activity, always done that. And gradually you just do less, and then you put on weight. So there's not really any difference. And yes, of course, your hormones are getting screwed up because of all the toxins, because of all the things that you're doing that are not agreeing with your body, because of various, inputs into the body, or you've had a rough time through menopause, or, you've had, I don't know, you've been on the pill for 20 years, or I'm talking about women, obviously, or you've, now you're taking menopausal, HRT, hormone replacement therapy, because you're in menopause and you've got terrible symptoms. And all of these things affect our energy and mean that we get slower as we get older. It's not ever just one thing, but fat loss after 50 is just the same as fat loss after 20. You've just got to eat the right stuff, eat enough protein so that the brain tells the body that it's full, and the brain tells you to stop eating because you've had enough to eat. If you graze and eat carbohydrates all day long, and that's what you mainly survive on, sugars, you are never going to be fully, you're not nourished. The brain knows that there's not enough nourishment there, and you just keep eating because you're always hungry, even though you shouldn't be, because you're quite full up. Jackie, hi there. I saw you cook some minced beef for breakfast, but you said to buy lean mince. Jackie, you asked me this the other day. I'm sorry I've been a bit light on answering people's questions. We've been traveling. I had no Wi-Fi for nearly 2 days, so I couldn't answer on my laptop, so I haven't answered everybody's questions. But you said to buy lean. I buy lean mince because it's just what I buy in Andorra. I go to the butcher and I buy Andorran beef, and they actually they've already cut most of the fat off, and then they cut more off. And I always say, don't cut the fat off, but they do anyway. But it was lean mince because that's, what I bought. And I buy steak, I buy steak, and they mince it for me. So I know there's nothing else mixed in with it, because it's very common in France as well, and Spain. They have something called préparation, which is, it's either beef and pork mix, which I don't want, I just want beef, or it's got antioxidants in it to keep the color. They've put other things in there. There's often dextrose in there, which is a type of sugar. So I get around that by going to the butcher and saying, I want a kilo of steak, but can you put it through the mincer? And it may just be that it was lean mince, because that's lean steak, because that's what I had. It's not like England. I don't know if you're from England, but in England, it tells you the percentages of fat on it. Well, we don't get that in Andorra. You just buy, 𝒅𝒏𝒄𝒄𝒄 in the supermarket, or you buy mince, and often that's 𝒅𝒏𝒄𝒄, or you get it minced up. So therefore, that's why it was lean. But then I had beef tallow to add some fat back in, because it's tasty and so it doesn't burn on the pan. Why? If you use beef tallow to cook with, and is steak fat okay to eat? Yeah, definitely. If you're trying to lose weight, don't go overboard on the fats. Probably when I made that video a few months ago, I was still very much on a weight loss journey. I'm just kind of at the weight I want to be now, so I'm just maintaining. But yeah, plenty of protein, but just don't add too much fat. But you can, if it's a bit of strip of fat on the steak, I eat that. Or sometimes Mikey eats it. He's the dog. Where Mikey is, actually, he's probably the other half. We're in this big apartment we've rented. It's super nice, and Mikey and Simon are over there somewhere. And bacon rind, yeah, bacon rind's fine. Just if you're still trying to lose weight, you want your body to eat your fat. Don't put too much extra in. It's pretty simple like that. You're from Stroud, so yeah, so you buy mince and it tells you what percentage of fat that's in there. I don't have that in Andorra. Deborah Walker, hi Deborah. Read the blood glucose question. I'm a T1 and I wear a CGM continuously. I also you also fingerprint. That's interesting. Finger prick is far more accurate as it tests blood. A CGM is in. That's the word. I couldn't remember it. I didn't want to say it wrong. The interstitial, yeah, I can't say it. That fluid. You read that. Read it on the text, everybody. That fluid is. So you believe it's, well, you obviously know because you test both. It's not as accurate. That's interesting. And they are quite expensive. And actually, if you were to buy, if you were to test your blood sugar, you could probably test it 2 or 3 times a day for the same cost as one CGM. I mean, maybe you get them if you're type 1, maybe you get them on prescription, but if you have to go and buy them. Rupen, what an inspiration. Oh, thanks, Rupen. Diane, I have brought insulin resistance down with intermittent fasting. Yeah, exactly. It's fantastic. I fast between 18 to 20 hours a day. My problem is I still can't get my blood pressure to come down. Any thoughts? I don't want to go on meds. Are you eating enough salt? Because contrary to popular belief, there's a book by Dr. James D. Nicolantonio called The Salt Fix. It's fantastic. Have a read of it if you haven't already read it. He talks in there about how blood pressure is reduced in people who eat enough salt. And we need salt for every function in the body. It's in the water, in the cells. That's why we drink electrolytes, to make sure we're properly hydrated, and why we put salt into electrolytes. Excuse me. I don't know a huge amount about blood pressure, but I do know that there is a connection between blood pressure and salt. So maybe check that one out first. And I also know that if you start eating cleanly, you start eating enough protein, you're getting enough fats, you're intermittent fasting, your blood pressure should start to come down. But check out the salt. That would be really interesting to know as well. Lacey, message retracted. Hi Lacey. Sazzle, the past week has been a lot easier doing keto. Noticing I can go longer without hunger pangs. It really works. It really does. It's amazing, isn't it? So how many weeks into it are you? You've lost 9 pounds so far, and I really thought I couldn't lose weight. So how long have you been doing it for? Share the love for this with everybody. It's bloody amazing. It really works, and it's just so exciting. Just to get back the control, but not feel like you're dieting. You don't have to feel like you're on a calorie control diet, because you're not. You don't have to count calories. It's too restrictive. People keep coming up with these these type of comments in the comments, and it's a conversation. I want people to say this stuff. I want people to express how they feel and to say, well, I don't agree with that, but so that I can give my perspective as well, because I can't, I don't always remember to say everything I want to say on any one video. And somebody said to me yesterday, calories are a good way to track what you're eating and what's wrong with calorie counting. What's the difference between calorie counting and counting protein and fat macros? You're still counting. And also talking about how a calorie controlled diet can help you lose weight. I disagree, because calories are not all created equal. If I have a head of broccoli over here on this in this hand, and over here I have a handful of M&Ms, they might be the same calories. One is a vegetable with lots of fiber in it and vitamins and minerals and lots of water, and I'm going to eat that head of broccoli, and it's probably going to fill me up if I eat all that. I don't eat that many vegetables these days, but okay, let's call it a steak. It's a steak in this hand. So it's a 6-ounce steak, and it's got, I don't know, 150 gram steak, and it's got 30 grams of protein in it, and it's got fat in it. And over here we've got the M&Ms, the same calories. You cannot tell me that those calories do the same in the body as those calories. They just don't. They are black and white, chalk and cheese, night and day. They are so different. And we're not a closed, the calorie theory, or the way that food is measured with calories, was originally, I think it's like 100 years ago. I can't remember exactly. I think I did it probably in my health coaching course. I learned about this first. They put these two scientists, scientists, put food into a closed metal box, and what did they do? They set fire to the food and they submerged it under the water, and it was how long it took the water to boil. How the food got burnt up to a crisp and the water boiled, and they measured it's a rubbish explanation, but it was called a bomb calorimeter, and therefore they decided how many calories were in that food based on how long it took for the water to boil. And that was how it originated. We are not a closed metal. We are a system so different from a closed metal box. So calories behave differently in our bodies. They behave differently in different people. So, if you're insulin resistant, you're processing your calories differently to somebody who's not insulin resistant. If you're a diabetic, or if you have inflammation, as we talked about earlier, it's all totally different, and we are all completely individual. That's why I don't measure calories. It's just, and they are restrictive, and they make you feel awful. And as I said in one of my videos recently, and it was I quoted from Dr. Zoe Harcombe, does a brilliant explanation of this. If you haven't read any of Zoe Harcombe's books, she's amazing. She was the person that I discovered her when a friend gave me one of her books in like 2011 or 2010, and I've been, I embraced her low carb way of eating from then on, but it took a long time to get to where I got to a year ago. But she's great, and she does a great explanation of calories and why they are not a great way to, well, not a great way, a really bad way to decide whether you're eating healthily or not. Hi, Stray Cat. Hi, Stray Cat. Hi, Emma, and everyone. Glad I caught you. Yeah, glad you're here. Thanks for joining. Since March, so where are we now? Oh God, that's fantastic. Sazzle, you've lost 9 pounds since March. Fantastic. Good for you. And it does get easier. And gradually, as you become fat adapted and you stop being a sugar burner because you're not eating sugar anymore, and your body's had to switch over to being a fat burner and use your fat for energy, it starts to use your body fat, and it's just like this magic switch has been flicked, and now you're not hungry, and now you don't have any cravings. I think at the beginning, people get bored. It feels boring to start with, but your taste buds change pretty quickly. And then once that happens, and you no longer have the cravings, and then you might be craving stuff like, I crave fermented cabbage. I love sauerkraut, and I make it myself, and it's so much better than the stuff you buy in the shops. So easy to make. I've made videos about it. so good for you. So much probiotics in a jar of that stuff. You only need a couple of spoonfuls, but it's delicious. I crave kefir. I love that every day because your gut bugs start to ask for the things that you've got the good ones proliferating, and then they start telling you that the things you need to eat, not literally, but they're just the same as when we're full of bad bugs and they're craving sugar. We crave sugar because we've got that going on inside us. But that is fantastic. I'm so glad it's working for you. I really thought I couldn't lose weight. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? My mum and dad have been losing weight. And like I said, my dad's 90, my mum's just turned 78, my dad's nearly 90. You know, my mum she's so slim now compared to what she's been for like the last 30 years. And she's enjoying it so much because she feels much more energetic. She looks great. And other health conditions have cleared up too. So it's just amazing. What is bacon rind? What do you call it in America? Somebody must have to help me with this because you talk about it all the time. It's the crispy skin on pork. And in America, you can buy it, and carnivores and ketovores use it for making like crispy coatings for chicken and things like that. Instead of breadcrumbs, crispy skin on pork. And of course, when bacon's cut in thin slices, you get a piece, and that is the rind. Oh, so good. Can't think what it's called in America. Jackie, thank you. I've spent all afternoon watching your videos. Thank you. Adding to my watch time. Brilliant. I'm so keen to eat this way. It's just amazing. It's just amazing when not for the first couple of weeks, because you can feel really ropey. I won't lie. It's sometimes, first time I came off sugar, I ended up in bed. I felt like I had flu, but it only happened once. I started on Friday and I've made your mushroom and roquefort soup today. Delicious. Good. I love soups because they're so easy, aren't they? And you've got nothing else in, but some mushrooms and a bit of mouldy old roquefort makes a great soup. And if you make your own stock, if you make your own meat stocks, which I've done a video about too, and then you freeze them, you've always got that in the freezer, and it makes a brilliant base for a soup, unless you're vegetarian, of course. And that wouldn't be the right thing for a vegetarian to put in his soup, but there you go. Jan, potassium is supposed to be important for getting blood pressure down, but I'm on medication already, and I'm concerned about taking too much, as lisinopril holds onto potassium, but felodipine makes you lose it. I guess those are blood pressure meds, and I don't know much about those. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Because of course all these things are interacting. I mean, what gets me about people on medications, and I see it with my private coaching clients, is, they can be on this and this and this, and then they're on this and this and this, and I'm thinking, well, I don't think you want that if you're already on that, and that one probably isn't. But it's like they're prescribed at different times, and the prescriptions never stop, and then there's more of them added. I can't talk about the drugs that you're talking about because I'm not allowed to. I'm not qualified to talk about anything that is medically related, like prescription drugs. But potassium. So what about just eating potassium-rich foods rather than actually taking potassium, taking it in electrolytes? Although you would think, wouldn't you, that if you're just having some electrolytes every day, it shouldn't be too much. But then I can't comment on those medications. Diana, thank you. Stray cat, hi Lala. Diana. I'm hiking up my protein, and I'm adding pink mineral salt to my water. Thanks for the book recommendation. Just a quick thing about pink mineral salt is do check where it's coming from. Do check the source, because apparently a lot of it is contaminated with things like arsenic, make sure it's really well tested. It's coming from countries where they don't have particularly stringent rules about these things. The salt that I use is Redmond's real salt, which comes from, it's mined in Utah, I believe, in the States. It's coming out, mined up out of the ground from a dead sea under the ground, dried up seabed. And it's really stringently tested, and it is actually quite expensive. If I buy it on Amazon in Spain or the UK, it's getting off for 20 quid now for 500 grams of it. But for the peace of mind of knowing it's got fantastic minerals in it, and it's tested, and it doesn't have arsenic or anything else dodgy in it, just check where it's coming from. Because again, I've come away from sea salt because the seas are not as clean as they could be. So that's why I have the Redmond's real salt. I'm really hoping that the Redmond's mine lasts for my whole lifetime. I don't know how big it is, but it seems to be the price is going up, so I guess it's really popular. There's another one, I think it's called, sorry about that, my computer's bleeping. I think it's called Baja Gold, which is supposed to be excellent as well, but I can't get that in the UK. We're in the UK quite frequently, so sorry, I just had to read a message from somebody. Good night, Habib. Thanks for joining. Listen to your videos while working around. Yeah, so just check with the salt, but do add, do add salt. Don't be afraid of it, but just look into it a little bit. Hi from Leeds, from NW8000. Hi. My husband went to university in Leeds. So I used to go up there for the weekend from London when I was 17 to 19, or 16 to 19, I think, when he was at uni. Stray Cat, if you're interested with the doctor Emma just mentioned, her name is Zoe Harcombe. Thanks for that. She's brilliant. I love Zoe Harcombe. And one of the things I really enjoy is she does I think you have to be a subscriber. You have to pay to be on her Monday subscriber email list, but every week on a Monday, she takes apart some study which has been published and everybody's quoting. So a study will come out saying that red meat causes diabetes, and she will take that study and she's got a PhD. She's really super bright, and she's just amazing, and she just completely goes into it like she's doing a mini PhD on it, and tears it to pieces, looks at all the sources and debunks that one, and that one because they didn't do this properly, and this one, and then they didn't do that, and then in fact we've just got two sources, and that's still, and in fact the results of this has been published, but they haven't finished testing yet. And for many, she's done this. I think she's done. Did she say she's done 700 of these papers now? You can look it up on her website if you're interested. It's really, really interesting the way she debunks some of these myths. I mean, studies. She's fabulous, and she's just like this, just absolute ball of energy. She's just tiny and petite and so much passion. I think she's absolutely great, and she's low carb, but not carnivore. I think her husband's more carnivore, but she said she loves vegetables too much to be completely carnivore. So she eats, and she loves chocolate mousse. She has a recipe for chocolate mousse, which she says she eats every day, and she's doing super well on it. She makes it. Panko. Is that what they are? Are panko breadcrumbs made from pork rinds? Pork rinds, isn't that what you call them? Bacon rind is the same as pork rind. I think that's what we call them in America, or what you call them in America. Stray Cat. It's a whole new adjustment to feeling full and very satisfied. I know it is a big adjustment. Sometimes I feel a bit uncomfortable with the protein, but I'm in the early stages and hope to adjust soon. Are you taking digestive enzymes? Because it's normal at the beginning to just not be able to digest all that protein. It's such a big jump from where most of us start. It was really hard for me at the beginning. Just like, oh God, I'd eaten a jar of a tin of sardines, a tin of mackerel, and a load of eggs for my breakfast, thinking, right, that's breakfast done. I've eaten enough protein. I went off to do the horse, and 2 hours later, I was just thinking, I think I'm actually going to throw up. I just can't keep all this protein down. But you do get more used to it. You start to make more of the right acidity of juices in your stomach to digest the protein. Digestive enzymes can help, as can apple cider vinegar, half an hour before you eat, as can digestive bitters, which are horrible, but they stimulate, because digestion starts in the mouth. Chewing your food up properly, that was something I had to learn to do. Instead of just swallowing lumps, I try and chew it more mindfully and not look at my phone while I'm sitting and eating. Definitely don't do that. Just eat and enjoy the food and concentrate on it. You will adjust. It just takes a while. But just when it stops tasting good, even if it's not quite the right number of protein, grams, just don't overeat. Don't push it. Just better to slightly undereat it and get used to it gradually. 𝒌𝐍𝒄 salt from Oregon is very clean. I've not heard of that one. So there you go. There's another option. They don't all make it. It's whether they make it onto Amazon or not, isn't it? As to whether the rest of us can find them, because whether they get to other parts of the world. Love Redmond's. Yeah, me too. It's a really nice salt, isn't it? Deborah, I wouldn't have thought a few years ago I'd be talking about, yes, different salts, but they are different. They do have different flavour. Deborah, I'm in the UK but oh, do you? Okay. I might try that then. Maybe I can't find it on Amazon, 𝒅𝒑 Gold, but maybe I can find it if just in the UK. Jan, I live very near Leeds. Used to get the coolest clothes in Leeds. God, I loved going up there. I was a goth as a teenager, so it was winkle pickers and silky black jackets with purple lining and lovely things. And it was really cheap, and everyone was really friendly, very different to London. Stray cat. For a week, I've been rising before 6, spending 1.5 hours reading, visualizing, writing, setting my intentions for my day. Life-changing. It's great, isn't it? It so helps with changing and releasing old habits. Yeah, you just have to change those prediction loops in the brain, just changing habits. And it takes a while to ingrain them, but once they are ingrained, you can't imagine living without them. Digestive enzymes, yes. Again, I say Amazon for everything, because that's where I buy most of my stuff. It's just easier than trying to track it down and then paying shop prices for things. Really sorry if you have a shop, but 15 years ago, no, more than that now. In the early 2000s, I had an online business, my first online business. It was a horse equipment website, because I'd been selling off all my old horse equipment on eBay, and I was sending it all over the world, English leather. And back then, before China really got into the market and started producing all these cheap goods, so I'd done really well with that. So I thought, well, I'll set up a horse website and I'll have equipment. I just didn't know anything about SEO. I didn't know anything about Google search engine optimization. That's SEO. I didn't know how to get my website found. So I didn't. I ran it for 2 or 3 years, but it was never a big money spinner. But back then, when I used to read magazine articles, that thing we used to do, it was said that within 15 years, most people would be buying most of their shopping online. And I was very excited about this, because I thought, wow, my website in 15 years and everyone's going to be buying online. But it seemed preposterous. And that was just 20 years ago, about 2000 and early 2000s, 2003, 4, 5, just over 20 years ago. It was not possible to imagine a world where everybody shopped online. I used to go shopping as an activity, go out with a girlfriend, go shopping for the day, and we'd traipse around the shops in Exeter and have lunch. And that was I don't do that anymore. not very often anyway. Lacey, please can you give your thoughts on my questions? I think you missed it. After the one about make and run, thank you. Sorry, I did miss it. I was probably rabbiting on and I went right past it. Let's just scroll back. Right, is it true, Lacey? Is it true that being on keto for a while, it can create high cortisol in the body? I wouldn't think it's directly attributed to just being on keto. I suppose it depends on what the variety of keto is that you're doing. Also heard some say that your brain prefers glucose as fuel. Okay, so I can answer that one. The brain will use glucose as fuel because it's ready fuel and it's there and it's available and it's quick. But it actually prefers to use ketones for fuel because they burn for they last for longer. And I do a whole thing about this in my Sweet Enough course. There's a whole explanation of it. It's like burning paper, which burns quickly, or burning a log on the fire, which can't see that hand. Where's it gone? There it is. So on this hand, you've got paper, and in this hand, you've got a log on the fire. One burns really quickly, and one burns slowly and for much, much longer. And the brain prefers to use ketones for energy, and so much so that ultramarathon runners have, there are athletes now who understand this, who do ultra marathons where they do one marathon after another. Crazy people. I don't know how they can do it, but they do. Those people that will run 150 miles and they do it totally on a carbohydrate-free diet. They do it totally on a ketogenic diet. The Navy SEALs, the American Navy SEALs, train in their deep water swimming, when they do the cold water swimming, when they do all that training that they have to do to be able to do all that endurance stuff in cold water. They put them on a ketogenic diet because they can hold their breath for longer. They can do better in the cold water on a ketogenic diet. I don't know about the high cortisol, but I'm going to investigate that because I haven't heard that keto causes high cortisol. So I will find out. And I'll put it in a video once I know the answer. Does keto cause high cortisol? Coffee can cause high cortisol. Stress can cause high cortisol. Don't know about keto as a ketogenic diet, but I will find out, and then I'll either put it in on a post. That's what I'll do. I'll put it on a post on YouTube when I've found the answer for you. And sorry, I missed that one first time around. Right, where have we got to? Betaine HCl. There you go. There's a digestive enzyme. Yes, and another one is ox bile, which is particularly good for people who don't have a gallbladder, which is many people. Gallstones are caused by eating a low-fat diet. They will, if you go low fat and much, not eating low fat, as we were told to go low fat to lose weight, going back to the 80s, but it's still being parroted. It's still being bleated by the mainstream to go low fat. It causes gallstones because there isn't enough bile being squished at, the gallbladder is very poor, it squeezes and it produces bile, and the bile goes through the gallbladder and it's used for the digestion. It's used in digestion. It stops doing that if there's no fat going through. The fat has to go through in order for that process to happen, and then it stops doing that, and what's in there congeals and forms stones. I didn't realize for years and years and years that the pain I had in my chest here, I was very lucky actually that I didn't believe in doctors, because otherwise I'd have had my gallbladder whipped out like everybody else seems to. You can reabsorb, you can break down, the body will break down gallstones, and I don't believe I have them anymore because I no longer have the pain, but I know I did have them because I had a test a doctor told me in France that I was perimenopausal before I knew what that meant, going back 15 years, and she said, and you have more than 50 gallstones in your gallbladder, and I was just like, really? Do I? Who knew? And they were caused by my low-fat dieting from the 80s. And it will happen within 2 weeks of going low-fat. That's how, no wonder so many people have their gallbladders taken out. But if you don't have a gallbladder, the body will it'll kind of make another gallbladder, makes it like a pouch, and it will manage without one. But ox bile can be very helpful for people without a gallbladder. Just thought about that. Betaine HCl. Isn't betaine does it come from beetroot, or am I making that up? And Amazon carries Jacobson salt. I'm going to look into that. Great, thank you for that. Stray cat, I moved from a large city to a small rural city, and even though we try, we only have so much in town. Amazon is a must. Yeah, it's just so easy, isn't it? We even have it in Andorra, even though a company brings the parcels in. We don't actually have Amazon in Andorra. It's coming from Spain, but Spain's just down the road. Menopause can exacerbate cortisol levels. That's interesting. And maybe that's why sleep becomes so difficult for people who are menopausal as well. But I think once you get your hormones sorted out and you eat enough, you eat enough fat, because we make our hormones from fat, then, the menopausal symptoms there just aren't, for me, there aren't any. I don't have any symptoms, even though that's where I am. Just amazing, just how many things get fixed by just eating right. Shelby, I'm working on a few things after watching your videos. Good. What do you think about carnivore ice cream or other dairy? Will it block weight loss and affect menopause symptoms? I don't think it'll affect menopause symptoms. If you can eat dairy and it's a carnivore, so what's in the carnivore ice cream? Are you just talking about cream? And they're very simple ingredients. I think ice cream you make yourself. I haven't actually made it because I love cream and I'll drink it out of the bottle, but I don't, I'm not bothered about ice cream. But will it block weight loss? I mean, there is even in cream, there is some sugar. Somebody said earlier, actually, I forgot that. I meant to answer that question, but I've been so busy getting the newsletter out this afternoon. I didn't do any more answering questions on my YouTube channel. But somebody was saying that she was on almond milk. She'd been drinking almond milk because it was lower in sugar than cow's milk, because cow's milk has so much sugar. And I thought, well, no, it doesn't have so much sugar. There's not much. There is a bit. And of course, if you drank gallons of it every day, it would make a difference. But most people aren't drinking it gallons. And I think if you are sticking to a ketogenic diet and you have a bit of carnivore ice cream, and it's a check. See if you feel like it slows your weight loss down. Everybody's different. I mean, I can get away with eating some dairy. I have a bit of cheese. I have different cheese to try and find the raw cheeses, the cheeses with the good bacteria in them for my gut, but not tons. But some people say cheese, just looking at cheese makes them put on weight. I have a friend who says she just can't. She's just had to stop eating the cheese because it makes her makes her put on weight again, even though she's a carnivore, even though she's really quite strict with it and doesn't have much else apart from meat and fish. I don't know about the menopause symptoms. I mean, if you can get raw dairy, it has so many benefits which we miss out on hi Mikey, which we miss out on with pasteurized dairy. I don't really drink milk, but I use pasteurized dairy to make the fermented milk products like the yogurts and the keffirs. I got that from Georgie Dinkov on YouTube, if that helps. Okay, cool. I've not heard of her, but I will check her out. I only asked because, because he did a chat with Dr. McCullough. I used to follow Dr. McCullough many years ago, and I kind of went off him because it just felt like, and this is when I used to use a lot of supplements. I don't use much at all now. Just always felt like he was always flogging something, always selling me something, and it just seemed like every email was a funnel to sell me something. So I just kind of felt like, is he for real, or is he just? And this is going back probably 10 or 12 years, but haven't really. He knows a lot of stuff. He's a wise guy, and everybody's got to make a living, and that's how he makes his. So after his chat, Dr. McCullough started eating carbs. It's so confusing. Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm carnivore-ish, but I eat some vegetables. I don't really eat starchy I don't eat starchy things. I don't eat grains because they were the problem. You know, for me, the problem was the grains and the sugars. So, what have I had today? A few cherry tomatoes, half an avocado, which has some carbs in it. The cherry tomatoes. I'm trying to think what else we had to eat today. Some fermented veg again, a little bit of carb, but I'm just talking a couple of spoonfuls. What's his name? Not Anthony Chaffee, who's out and out carnivore, but Paul Saladino. He started eating a lot more carbs, didn't he? If anybody knows Paul Saladino, Dr. Paul Saladino, he was an out and out carnivore. Some people say somebody got to him, and that's why he's now promoting carbs. I just think, you know, he's very active. He does loads of surfing. He looks amazing. Great body. Lives. Does he live in Australia or is he America? Anyway, or no, maybe he lives in South America or maybe whatever. It doesn't matter where he lives. He started eating more fruit and honey, and he incorporated that back into his diet because he felt like the carnivore diet wasn't working for him any longer, just as a carnivore diet. So, and you know, I couldn't eat the way people like Dr. Shawn Baker eats, where he just eats meat. I'd just be too bored with it. I just need a bit more variety than that. But it's, you know, cream, egg, stevia, and vanilla. Well, that's no different from me putting, this is for your ice cream, that's really no different from me putting cream in my coffee and eating eggs, is it? So, you know, drop a few drops of stevia. If it doesn't spike your blood sugar, it doesn't for most people. Vanilla's fine. I don't think that, you just have to try it. If you're losing weight and that's your goal, and you're losing a steady amount of weight and you're feeling like everything's going in the right direction, have the ice cream. Like I said, 𝒍𝒑, she is at optimum weight. She's tiny and she has been for years, but she has her chocolate mousse every day because she loves it, and it's the thing of her that makes the end of a meal. Just do what works for you. You have to try it and see. Deborah, I can't have cream in the house. I'm a recovering sugar addict and the sweetness of the cream triggers me. I'll drink the whole carton. I used to drink cream out the carton from when I was a child. I'd get 50p and I'd go down to the farm, the dairy, Jersey farm in my village where I lived in Stanbridge in Bedfordshire. And it was the only thing that was always open because the shop where you could buy sweets wouldn't be open. So I'd go when the shop was shut, like on a Sunday, I'd buy a pot of cream and just drink it towards myself. I used to think that was why I put on weight, you know, from about age 10 onwards, but it probably wasn't the cream. It was more like, it was all the sugars I was eating. But back then you knew that cream was bad for you. So I just drink it in secret and see where the weird food addictions start. Yeah, Deborah, that's what the friend I mentioned earlier with the cheese, she said she can't have it in the fridge because she's like a monster for it. I love cream. Stray Cat, I refuse to eat cheese for 50 years. I don't eat a lot of it now, but now I just see it as a source of calcium and protein and not just fat. Yeah, we were told to avoid these things, weren't we? Low fat cheese, it's so miserable. I used to eat Edam because it was the lowest fat. You know, it's not like an exciting cheese, is it? Or low calorie Philadelphia. Gosh, it's 9:15. I'm going to have to wrap this up shortly. I've reduced my vegetable and fruit intake, simple to make room for protein. Yeah. And surprise, I don't miss tons of veggies. I still have some, but not mountains of salad like I used to eat. I was a mountains of salad, buckets of salad person. And I realize now, because I never thought it was the salad causing my gut problems, causing terrible, painful bloating. Not indigestion, just painful bloating. That feeling, and so many people say this to me, oh, I've got such bad bloating. It wasn't until I stopped the vegetables, just over a year ago, did a complete elimination diet, that the bloating stopped. And then it came back and forth for a few months as my gut healed, but I can't actually, sitting here now, I can't think of the last time I had an episode where I had to go to bed because I was in such pain. Maybe 2 months ago, so I had something that was too much for me, leeks or something, or radishes are really bad. And I just used to eat tons of those things because I thought, not only did I think they were healthy, I loved them. Loved vegetables, salads. I'd always choose salad. I was so low in protein. Yeah, you do have to reduce the vegetables and the fruits in order to eat enough protein. You can't eat all of it. You can't have all of that and all of that. There's too much food. So when people say, I don't know how you eat that much protein, how where do you put it all? I stopped eating all the other filling things, which they don't serve me. Lacey, I watched Paul Saladino. He eats quite a bit of fruit and honey. I think his testosterone was low, and also he was getting cramps as he's so active. That's right, he lives in Costa Rica. Got there eventually. That's why he's always surfing, and he is really active. And then another person, a real heavy carnivore, would say, but you can just get the energy from the meat. But if it works for him and he's super active and he's using all those sugars up, if you can, as my friend Laura says, if you can pick it or kill it, you should be able to eat it. But if you can't do either of those things, then don't eat it. So that excludes all the things that we have to process, doesn't it? And it excludes all the things which grow under the ground because you have to dig them up. Picking it is literally fruit in season, isn't it? So you can pick it or you can kill it. Not that I'm very good at killing anything. If I had to kill the animals I ate, sadly, I wouldn't be able to eat them. Useless. Maybe I would if I was really hungry. Right, I'm going to nearly finish now because it's time to get the last rays of sun into my eyes before bedtime. Salad made me feel so crampy every day. Yeah, and I just kept on believing raw veggies were the best way to eat. Me too, exactly that. I read Raw Energy by Leslie Kenton back in the 80s and 90s. I thought, this is so brilliant. We don't have to cook anything. We could just eat raw food, raw vegetables. She said she used to, if she was going on a flight, she would take like a bag with 20 apples in it and just eat those all day, a long haul flight. I think of all the sugar in 20 apples. God, it's a terrible diet. I have no idea if she's even still around, still with us or not, or whether she changed her tune when her poor gut just couldn't cope with it anymore. Can you be keto and vegetarian? Yes, but it's much harder because you're trying to get enough protein. I have a friend who's a vegetarian and he was trying to lose weight last year. And I said, the way that you'll be able to lose weight is by upping your protein because you're very heavily carb based. And he has been trying, he has lost lots of weight. I don't know, I haven't spoken to him about it for a while, but you can, of course, be keto and vegetarian. It's not my specialist subject. I don't know a lot about it, but I'm sure there are people that you would be able to follow and find who do exactly that. Vegetarian is not the same as being vegan. You can still eat cheese and dairy, and so you can eat eggs, fantastic source of protein. I eat them every day, and the cheeses and the beans, not so much. No, you can't eat beans if you're keto because there's too much carbohydrate in them. But yes, you can just about still do it. As long as you're fine with dairy and eggs, of course. If you could be a pescatarian, you'd do even better. Lala, to each their own, of course. Ranga Murali, is banana good? Half a banana a day. I don't eat bananas anymore, not once I found out how much sugar is in them. If you eat them green, really, really green and hard, which they are horrible, and you have to cut the skin off, but you could blend it into a smoothie. Not that I'm a big fan of smoothies anymore because I don't think you should drink your calories either. Chop it up small, I suppose. Not for me. People eat bananas because they say they're rich in potassium, and all the potassium is in the skin. That's where they get the potassium from in a banana. So unless you're eating the skins as well. But again, it's half a banana. It's probably not going to kill you. Depends what your goal is. If you're trying to lose weight and you're trying to be able to switch over to your fat burning energy system from your sugar burning system, you really want to exclude all the sugars while you do that. Lacey, there's also a new craze on YouTube, people eating granulated sugar, putting it in water and smoothies. Oh my God, seriously. There's so much, I don't see this stuff because I only watch health stuff, but when I see stuff like that, I just think, oh, bloody hell. Is there any hope for humanity? Gosh. That's even worse than just eating loads of fruit and thinking you're being healthy, isn't it? If you need potassium, eat an avocado instead, yes. When I mentioned potassium earlier, I didn't talk about any potassium-rich foods, but yeah, I love avocados. It's such an excellent food. And I'm growing too at the moment. Not that they usually get to about that size and start to die, especially in Andorra. Mandy King, oh no, I'm late to the party. Hi Emma, fab news about your 10K subscribers. Yes, I know, amazing, just amazing. In fact, while you're on the line, all of you, I should just have a quick check, see where we've got to, because earlier on it was fast heading towards 11,000. So let's see. I couldn't believe it. I woke up this morning and I actually switched on my phone before I got out of bed because I wanted to go back to sleep, and the clock had been taken and put somewhere else. We're in this rented flat, and I just thought, I don't even know what the time is. I don't usually turn my phone on until I've done my yoga, and I turned it on and it said 10,001, and I took a screenshot. And it's now at 10,792. It's been a really good day. Had lots and lots and lots of people watching that fat loss after 50, 7 things for fat loss after 50 video, which is amazing. Thank you, Renga. Thank you. Thank you. Just, God, I got so excited when I got to 800 subs back in, when was that? Maybe it was a hot day, but it was still winter time, and maybe it was March, and I was at 800. I was 800. God, I can't believe it. And I did a little video about it, and nobody watched it because I had hardly anybody watched anything of mine then. And now it's just like, there's so many subjects I want to cover. There's so many things. I made a video the other day, and it's all about, it's not a long video, it's only 7 or 8 minutes. It's about how dangerous checkout receipts are for us, for our endocrine system, for our bodies. You may already know about this, but I'll just quickly tell you because I haven't published it, because my husband said to me, he was listening to me recording it. I was just recording it in my house at home. And he said, I think that it's boring me and I'm not even listening. It's too long. People aren't going to watch that. And I said, no, you're probably right. They just want to know stuff about fat loss. They don't want to know anything else. And so I didn't publish it, and it's still sitting there in my videos waiting to be published. And it's just about, do you know what's in your checkout receipts? Because they are made on a thermal paper where they use a heat to print them. So that ink, it's not ink at all. It just appears on the paper because of the heating process. And people who work in shops particularly are handling them all day long. Nobody wears any gloves. They give off chemicals that get into your skin, especially if you've just put hand cream on, or even worse, if you've just sanitized your hands. Terrible thing. Don't do that, because that stuff ends up, because you touch your food, it ends up in your gut, killing the good bacteria in your gut. Checkout receipts, that stuff ends up, 70% of what touches your skin goes into your body. And I talk about this in my newsletter this week, about things that we put on our skin or that get into our bodies through our skin. Checkout receipts, there's a chemical in there that it causes cancer. And you shouldn't touch them. You should touch them with tweezers or put gloves on. They're really poisonous for our bodies. I think it was something like, I made it a couple of weeks ago, it was something like within 10 minutes of handling a checkout receipt, if your urine is tested, there are traces of that chemical from that piece of paper in your urine. And, they found it in newborn babies, this chemical, because it's passing through, from the mother to the baby. Checkout receipts. I mean, God, and now I tell people when I go into shops, if they speak English, I tell them about it. And, some people just look at you like you're nuts. And other people go, oh, thank you so much for telling me. I didn't know, because who knows that stuff? You can use more expensive paper or a more expensive system, and it's not dangerous. But those, this stuff I'm talking, it's like fax paper, not like receipts used to be where they were physically printed. These are heat transfers that, because it disappears after a few months. If you ever have to keep receipts to do accounts, like I always do Simon's accounts for him, his expenses, it disappears. Or if you get it wet, it disappears. But that stuff, anyway, I think once my channel gets a bit bigger, I can put videos in like that without completely losing all my subscribers, because I think people, if they're interested in health, they're interested in the whole picture like I am. Every reason why we're in the bad state of health we're in, why it's important what we use to wash our clothes, why it's important what fabrics we wear, you know, why we wear cotton rather than plastic, which gets those microplastics get into the body. It's just like everywhere you turn, there's something trying to kill you. But if you know about it, you can protect yourself and you can protect your family, and you don't have to subject yourself to these poisons that are just in our environment. Anyway, let me know if you'd like to see the video about checkout receipts, and I might publish it. Probably get 200 views. Right, I must go. Yes, thank you, Julie. Thanks for watching. Please, everyone, give me a thumbs up. I know, amazing. I'm so excited about the numbers. And thanks all of you for watching. And hopefully I'll be able to do this again next Sunday. We will be traveling. It will depend on, I'll have to look at the schedule and see if it's possible, but otherwise I will definitely see you again in 2 weeks, by which time, the heady heights, we could be up to 20,000. Who knows? My dad said this morning, who are all these people? I said, you know, there's more people than the ones you know in 𝒂𝐏𝐿, in your little village. There's a lot of people out there in the world. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Good night. I hope this is recorded for people who couldn't make it, but thank you so much. And thanks for all your questions, and have a great week. Have a great rest of the week and a great week. Cheerio. Bye-bye for now. Thank you. Night, night.